Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Today, super special video. You know how much I love my Chanels, and we have Coco Eau de Toilette, the current formulation, to review. I have already opened it and I have been testing it out already. I'm so excited to re-review Coco because, as you can see, this is a 100 ml bottle. They still make them in a 50 ml and 100 ml. And in the past, they used to have gold lined around the borders here of this plastic lid, but they only kept the golden double C logo and everything else is gone. It's all fully black. They streamlined it, but I think they did it to save money. I don't know, Chanel. I don't know what you're doing there, Chanel, with your money, but girl. But so everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged, just my opinion. I'm not sponsored by Chanel. However, I want to thank my dear friend Nicole for getting me this for my birthday. It was a surprise. I wanted to buy it, but then like at the cash register, whoop, she swooped in and got it for me. So thank you so much, Nicole. I was going to buy it anyway, but so graciously Nicole gifted it to me. So I'm going to review it now. I have been already testing it out. I adore Coco, and I really like the Eau de Toilette. I do own the Eau de Parfum, and I also have the Extrait. However, the Eau de Toilette usually doesn't get as much love as the other concentrations. The Parfum / Extrait has been discontinued. Hopefully they'll bring it back. You can still purchase the Eau de Parfum, which comes in that classic Chanel No. 5 spray bottle. And then we have the EDT. Now, let me spray it on. And we're going to do one spritz here and one here. Oh, the mist. Such a beautiful cloud. The sprayer is gorgeous. This one mists. It's not like the 75 ml Les Exclusives. They're spitters. They kind of spritz like a whole chunk at once. This one mists it out. It's a beautiful, beautiful atomizer. This thing. Oh my God, it's delicious. Ah. And here's the thing, I've just re-reviewed Chanel No. 19 Eau de Toilette, and go check out that review as well. I talk about Olivier Polge's vision for perfumery. He kind of rounds things up a little bit. He adds musks. He warms stuff up. No. 19 Eau de Toilette could benefit from being a little bit colder, less musky in the dry down. But go check out my review of No. 19 and hear my conclusion on it. Still amazing perfume. With this one, it kind of works, his slight softening the edges. Now, the Eau de Toilettes in Chanel perfumes, okay, so in general, I can tell you this much. I personally usually prefer the EDTs to the EDPs when it comes to Chanel. Why? Because they usually have a cooler touch to them. They're closer to the Chanel aesthetic, to Coco Chanel's vibe. Most of the Chanel fragrances that we know have been formulated during Coco's lifetime as extraits and Eau de Toilettes. Sometimes as colognes as well, but not Eau de Parfums. Matter of fact, even Chanel No. 5 during Coco's lifetime was never released as an Eau de Parfum. It was released in the 1920s as an extrait, the parfum, and then as an Eau de Toilette and Eau de Cologne. Then Coco Chanel passed away in 1971. In the mid-80s, Jacques Polge introduces Chanel No. 5 Eau de Parfum for the first time. So Coco never smelled the Eau de Parfum. Same with Cristal. Cristal was released shortly after Coco Chanel passed away, but only as an Eau de Toilette, and Henri Robert dedicated the perfume to her. It smelled of that ashtray accord that is typical to Coco. Only as an Eau de Toilette, a cold-hearted chypre, gorgeous. Then in the 90s, Jacques Polge releases the Eau de Parfum version of Cristal, slightly warmed up. Jacques Polge is the father of Olivier Polge. Olivier Polge will arrive at Chanel round about 2014-15. But before then, it was all Jacques Polge from the 80s onwards, together with Christopher Sheldrake. Now, when it comes to Coco, Coco was released as an eau de toilette in the 80s as an extrait, and then the eau de parfum as well. So we have this vision of a full collection. It's an 80s launch. It is not a flanker. It is not another concentration like they launched Chanel No. 5 Eau de Parfum as a new concentration in the 80s. Coco was the big Chanel launch of the late 80s, the second half of the 80s, which coincides with this tendency of heavy, back then called Oriental. You don't call them like that anymore. You call them amber accords. I like to call them Byzantine accords. It was Chanel's amber bomb, you know. It was Chanel's version of, it was Chanel's answer to Dior's Poison, which was Dior's answer to Yves Saint Laurent's Opium. All of them stem from Youth Dew from the 50s. They all kind of have that amber accord in their DNA. It's connected, you know, it's Chanel's version of Obsession by Calvin Klein. It's a warm, heavy shoulder pad, amber accord that just oozes character. Very, very 80s. It's beautiful. I mean, this thing is divine, and it is so majestic in the heat. The current formula, by the way, let's check out the batch code with the black lid with no golden trim, is 0102. That was the 0102. That was the youngest batch they had. In my beauty boutique, they only had 2 bottles of this. It's not very popular, the Eau de Toilette. So they still didn't receive the batch codes with a 1. So, but the 0102 is it's a very new batch still. And this is the current box. And then let's check the ingredients in the back. Alcohol, water, and then fragrance after that. And then this is basically in 2025 what the ingredients for Coco look like. They have discontinued this perfume range. It used to have a dusting powder, you know, body powder, body lotion, shower gel, shower oil, body cream, deodorant spray. It's all been reduced to just EDT, EDP, body lotion, and body cream. That's it. Everything else is gone, and they're probably going to discontinue either the lotion or the cream or both. And I don't know for how long they're going to keep the EDT in rotation. They have discontinued the extrait. As for the EDT, you might have noticed my review of Chanel No. 19 EDT. It comes in that elongated bottle, which Chanel has now streamlined to house all of its EDTs from the classics, meaning Chanel No. 5 is in that bottle now as well. No more magnetic lid. Cristal Eau de Toilette is in that bottle. Even Cristal Eau Verte, which used to be Eau de Toilette Concentré, which they now renamed Eau de Parfum, is in that bottle. The only bottle that, the only perfumes that came in this particular shape bottle, this monolith, I call it the monolith bottle, were Coco Eau de Toilette and Cristal Eau de Parfum. But Cristal Eau de Parfum has received a repackaging, and I reviewed the new one. And now it comes in that Chanel No. 5 glass bottle, just says Cristal on it. And the Eau de Toilette of Cristal is in the same bottle as No. 19 Eau de Toilette and No. 5 Eau de Toilette. So that means that Chanel is making this Eau de Toilette Coco perfume in this special bottle only Coco. is still in this bottle. That's what I'm trying to say here. The other ones are no longer made in this bottle, which means that this bottle is only still manufactured for Coco Eau de Toilette. Now, they put Cristal in the Eau de Parfum bottle of number 5, but they cannot put the Eau de Toilette of Coco in the number 5 bottle because they've already put the Eau de Parfum Coco in the Chanel number 5 Eau de Parfum bottle, which means that I think that they're streamlining even more their production. They want to maximize profits even more. I have a sneaky suspicion that sooner than later, we're going to see the discontinuation of this bottle because this is the last perfume in which they produce this bottle for. And they're going to sooner or later, rather sooner than later, I have a sneaky suspicion they're going to start housing the Eau de Toilette of Coco in that standardized elongated bottle that they use for squared off bottle that they use for number 5 EDT, number 19 EDT, Cristal EDT. They're all the same bottles, different lid colors. So I think that that's going to happen with Coco as well. They're probably going to, at a certain point, stop making these bottles. So if you are interested in this bottle, now is the time to get one. I know they don't have the gold trim anymore as they used to, but it's still a beautiful bottle. The 100 ml is a little bit harder to use because it's a very elongated bottle and kind of thin. So the 50 ml is maybe more easy to handle because it has like this huge lid and it's just, it's a lot to hold. You know, it's kind of easier if it were like this. Well, you could twist the nozzle to spray this way, but it is a beauty though. And so much for the bottle, very 80s. It's losing a little bit of its opulence. It is a fingerprint magnet. What can I tell you? Sorry about that. But the plastic is still that old school classic Chanel plastic, which is not very prone to scratches. They have developed their own formula for plastics. They were explaining this in the 90s. They were all proud of that they use also for their cosmetic makeup little containers. It's you can see when you look very closely under the light, it's like a slightly wavy plastic. It is in some way scratch resistant, very fascinating. They did that also for these lids. So matter of fact, you're not going to find a lot of these lids from the past that have a lot of scratches on them because the plastic is special. Love the smell. So anyway, it is a monolithic, opulent, decadent, Byzantine type of bottle. It is a remnant, a relic of the 80s. The smell is amazing. I think Olivier Polge did a better job at tweaking Coco Eau de Toilette than he did at tweaking number 19 Eau de Toilette. I love number 19 Eau de Toilette, but I would like it to be a little bit colder in the dry down, less of those warm, weird musks that he loves to fiddle and diddle with. Okay. But here it works majestically. And guess what? You know, just because it's an Eau de Toilette doesn't mean that it is less long-lasting than an Eau de Parfum. The Eau de Parfum is going to have a different type of character. Coco Eau de Parfum is much warmer and suffocating in a way, also beautiful. But the Eau de Toilette has that reverence. It is a little bit more detached. You know, it's a little bit more cool, calm, collected, even though it has at its heart that amber vibration going on for it. And just because it's an Eau de Toilette doesn't mean it doesn't last long. This thing, I started testing it out a couple of days ago. On my clothes, it lasts like 3 days. On the skin, on my chest, it lasted 10 to 12 hours. It is wonderful. Maybe with your chemistry, it's not going to last that long. That's a possibility. Everybody's skin is different. Everybody's chemical components are different. The way you react to certain perfumes and certain ingredients and accords can be different. But still, after all of these decades, after like what, 40 years since it's been produced, after all the reformulations it's been through, it's still majestic. It still lasts super long. It still smells top-notch quality. The price is expensive, though. They have snuck up the price throughout the decades. Currently in the States, for this bottle, the 3.4 liquid ounces or 100 milliliter bottle, you're going to pay $150 for it plus tax. And for half this size, the 50 ml bottle or 1.7 fluid ounces, you will pay $116. That's 116 plus tax. So obviously you get more bang for your buck if you purchase the bigger bottle, goes without saying. But the bigger bottle is a little bit inconvenient in its size. Not so easy to carry around, although we love the big bottle. Size queens, right? But that's your price currently. Chanel describes the perfume on their website as follows. Gabrielle Chanel cultivated the art of paradox, the woman behind an understated, pared-down style that revolutionized women's fashion, was equally fond of the Baroque, which inspired the decor of her apartment on Rue Cambon and the Byzantine jewelry collections. Coco expresses the intensity of Mademoiselle's personality, a mysterious, provocative, ambery fragrance with floral and spicy notes. The Eau de Toilette is lighter without losing any of its richness. So true. Here's the thing. Let me, when Chanel Coco, when the Coco perfume range also had a soap, I collected it. I bought a lot of those soaps. When I heard that they were going to discontinue the soaps, I stocked up on them, love them to bits, still to this day. I have the soaps in my drawers with my clothes. I just love the way how they scent and fragrance my garments. I remember already years back when I started my channel, my main channel, before I shifted to the perfume channel for perfumes. I used to do perfume reviews on my main channel. I would tell people, get the soap. It's amazing. There's a specific smell to this soap, a specific aldehydic, clean, soapy smell to the soap, which is so beautiful in Coco. And now that the soaps have been discontinued, people don't know how they used to smell. Well, I can tell you this much, right? Of all of the concentrations that we still have from Coco, which are only 2, unfortunately, the Eau de Toilette is the closest to the soap smell. The aldehydes in here are so beautiful. They sparkle so strong, crystalline, vivid, but ambery at the same time. So it's soapy. That's the beautiful paradox of Coco. It is a soapy, dry, clean smell in the opening, thanks to those amazing aldehydes. And then as it warms up on the skin, it gets more and more balmy, lusciously rich, creamy on you, you know? There's that beautiful shift from this dry, austere, almost obsessive cleanliness. It shifts into a more organic, bodily warmth. So beautiful. So the composition, as per the Chanel website, is the accord opens with a mandarin note. Its heart of jasmine absolute is heightened with a breath of ilang-ilang from the Comoros, or Comoros. A lush yet light harmony that leaves behind a trail tinged with Indonesian patchouli. The art of perfuming, Chanel tells us, the Eau de Toilette comes in a spray for a more generous application. Thank you for letting us know, Chanel. Now, obviously, Coco has way more ingredients than just the smidge of what Chanel is telling us. Matter of fact, this late 80s creation has Bulgarian rose in the top notes, peach, mandarin orange, jasmine, coriander, and aldehydes. Middle notes, cloves, and it is the clove that warms up on my skin. And I love the mix of cloves with roses in this perfume. So we have Bulgarian rose in the opening, but then we have a classic May rose in the mid notes with cloves, mimosa, orange blossom, and clover leaf or flower. Base notes, opoponax. Christian Dior's Poison also has it. Civet, vanilla, labdanum, tonka bean, amber, sandalwood, and patchouli. Now, The labdanum is amazing. We have an overdose of labdanum in Le Lion de Chanel. If you want to smell labdanum, you smell Le Lion de Chanel. Olivier Polge is the creator of that one, from the Les Exclusives range. Like, that is an overdose of labdanum. If you want pure labdanum, if you want a sophisticated iteration of labdanum, magically harmonizing with all these other ingredients, starting with the mandarin orange, going all the way through to whatever substitute we have, synthetic substitute for natural civet, going through the ilang ilang, the different roses, the jasmine accord. If you want to feel all of that with just the beautiful, high, sophisticated artistry of delivering just like dots of light, like in a Velázquez painting, dots of light on pearls or jewelry that brings the whole dark painting to life, you're going to have to experience Coco Eau de Toilette, because it gives you that feeling of that labdanum is like that dot of light in a dark painting. It is so Baroque, so Byzantine. It is beautiful, sophisticated. It's dark, but it's also gold. It's a dark yellow gold color. And masterfully blended. I mean, the Eau de Toilette shines for me more than the Eau de Parfum because of that beautiful duality that it constantly balances. You know, it starts off with that dry, soapy accord, and then it goes into that warmth, into that civet. And then the clove is what balances everything out constantly, because clove has this interesting nature of being, in a way, gourmand. It's a spice. You can eat it. You know, you can spice your food with it. It is it's cinnamony in a way. It is dry. It's a dry spice, but it has a tendency of warming everything up. It has this weird nature of sweetening things without them becoming sweet. That's the power of clove. And it is really important that the clove is in here, because you have exactly that delicious warmth that never becomes sweet. And it keeps luring you in. You just want to dig your nose into it. It smells like gold. You know, I think if gold had a smell, it would be Coco. Seriously, it's like gold and black. Oh, it's so beautiful. And the way that they combine this, it almost smells like there's ambergris in the dry down, like natural ambergris. There probably isn't, but there's that sickly, organic vibe to the dry down. Oh man, I love it. Love it to bits. Oh, it's so good, you guys. It's so good, like really good. I mean, I know this type of bottle might not be the most popular design currently when compared to other perfume bottles. And I don't know, people want that classic Chanel No. 5 bottle for the Eau de Parfum, but like, give the Eau de Toilette a chance. It's so much more sophisticated than the Eau de Parfum. Like, the Eau de Parfum goes one specific route, and it is majestic and beautiful, and I love Coco Eau de Parfum. But the Eau de Toilette has that edge, that resilience. It has that kind of, it roars differently, you know? It's moodier. It's more moody. It's more detached, but then it lures you in, you know? Eau de Parfum is all about embracing, coming in, welcoming. I mean, it's also interesting to note how for the Les Exclusives range, together with Christopher Sheldrake, Jacques Polge delivers Coromandel, and also 31 Rue Cambon, both of them very particular perfumes, 31 Rue Cambon being an actual chypre, modern day fougere-ish chypre type of vibe. they kind of belong to the same Byzantine family. Coromandel is like a cocoa on steroids with amped patchouli, added white chocolate to it. It's like Coromandel is a more of an haute couture version of Coco, and Coco is more of a mass-released Chanel item for everybody. But quality, like we're talking mass-released quality, and I can really tell you, it is amazing to me how this perfume has maintained its integrity throughout these decades, throughout these 40 years almost, okay, that it's been on the market. It has maintained its dignity. It doesn't at all feel watered down to me. Also, don't forget, this is a brand new batch, okay? It hasn't had really time to marinate yet to get the full-blown oxygen. It hasn't had time to bathe in the sun a little bit, although don't put your perfumes in the sun. By that, I mean, it's been sealed in a box since it was in the factory. I took it out of the box. Now it's getting a little bit of light and oxygen as I'm using it. And already out of the box, it is majestic, long-lasting, intense, deep, just right. Imagine when this gets 2-3 years old, like when it ages, when it, gets time to get its oxygen flowing and everything. It's going to deepen even more. It's going to get an even darker color, but also it's going to smell even deeper. And I'm like, wow, how much more deep can you go? Like, there's like, this is the best thing I can ask of a perfume, like brand new, out of the box, new, fresh batch, already out of the package smelling so divine. I can only imagine it's going to age like fine wine if I don't use it up before it gets a chance to age, But I was so excited to try out the current iteration, current formulation of Coco, because the last time I bought the Eau de Toilette was my last EDT of Coco was 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. Like it's been a while. I have purchased the EDP a lot because I wear a lot the Eau de Parfum in its monolith refillable bottle, especially. Also the Extrait I have purchased quite a few times. But the Eau de Toilette always kind of evades me because usually I gravitate towards the Extrait. They've discontinued the Extrait currently. God knows for how long, if they'll ever bring it back. So I'm like, you know what? I'm craving old school Chanel vibes, that austere reverence, that kind of strictness that Coco Chanel had about herself, which her Eau de Toilette perfume formulations usually deliver more than the EDPs. And I'm like, you know what? I'm craving Coco EDT again. I want to flavor it. I want the newest version of it just to see, is it still there? Boy, oh boy, is it still there. It is amazing. And because Olivier Polge has it in his hands and he likes to do that little musky sweetness to things, the warmth, maybe not sweetness, but warmth, he has added just a smidge of more roundness to this perfume in the dry down, which really does it well. In the past, it used to be a little bit more dry and cool. Now, as it dries down on the skin, it's less dry, and it becomes more pulsating. It pulsates more rather than just being a cold-hearted Byzantine rich bitch with shoulder pads, walking down gay old Paris, showing off to the world that she don't need nobody, nothing. Perfumes know no gender for me. So if you like how it smells on you, I say wear it. Don't worry about marketing ploys of like, oh, targeted to men or women. Doesn't matter. Every skin is different. So if it smells good to you, on you, then it's your perfume. Beautiful. Just a smidge goes a really long way. But the older I get, the more I personally, I thought I was going to keep dosing more and more and more perfumes. Like I thought the older I get, I'm just going to spray more and more and more because I had a tendency in the past to really overspray things and I just love them. But then you kill your your nostrils, your olfactive sense. I mean, you become anosmic to everything. But I'm noticing that microdosing is not just in homeopathy a thing. It's really also in perfumery can be really wonderful. Um, Savoring the small dosage of things, oh, it's so delicious. Once you learn how to do it, and you don't just like overindulge with perfumes and until you kind of kill your own nose and you don't smell it yourself anymore. Instead, you go the opposite route of trying to use the least amount possible and still train your nose to sniff it out. Because it's easy for the nose to sniff stuff out if you overspray. But if you underspray, then the nose has to work more. And I am enjoying so much this delicate, gentle microdosing of perfumes. By microdosing, I'm not saying literal microdosing. Like my microdosing would be like 1 or 2 sprays, which is normal. I guess usually people just do 1 or 2 sprays. But like with some perfumes, I would go like 30 sprays, you know, like with Gardenia by Chanel, which is one of those perfumes that I loved to overspray in order to reach that poisonous green smell of a gardenia that you only reach with Chanel's gardenia if you overspray. Now I don't do that anymore, you know. Now I'm like much more controlled and calculated and I know my dosages much better now. And I know my body much better now, like how to use it in climate, temperature, mood, time of day. You learn these little you fine tune and tweak fragrances on your body, like how much to apply, where, when, and how with time, you know. But you have to experiment. Some people just don't have the time, obviously. Some people just spray it to go out of the house and they just want to smell all day. I wear perfumes usually at home for myself. I enjoy them like I would enjoy a good cognac, a good cup of coffee. Like, you know, it's in Italy you would say the buon gustaio. It's something that you enjoy and savor, right? And Coco is definitely one of those fragrances that you savor. It's, mm, you crave it, but you practice the art of negating it to yourself. You don't overindulge, you know, you don't overconsume, you don't over binge. You give just a smidge and then you crave more. But no, we're edging here. You know what I'm saying? So that's what Coco is all about. We had to go in the ratchet direction. And it also has like a beautiful, like a grape juice, ambergris, amber accord in it. Oh, it's just so beautiful. And you know what it reminds me of? Like plum. A bit of plum is, again, Poison by Christian Dior also had both a Popanax and plum. A Popanax being kind of like an incense vibe. You know, Popanax is a sweeter type of incense. Like frankincense is more dry, or Popanax is more sweet. But Jean-Paul Gaultier's Gaultier by the Power of Two by Francis Courjean, very similar to this. By the Power of Two came decades later after Coco was released, but they kind of go hand in hand, very similar. The current formulation of Gaultier by the Power of Two, of course, much more synthetic and abstract, but also huge jasmine bomb, you know, huge kind of ambergris bomb and amber bomb. I mean, wonderful perfume, by the way. Current formulation of Gaultier by the Power of Two is amazing, but it's not as elegant as Coco, you know. Coco is just, it just smells like the best days of Chanel. When Karl Lagerfeld just arrived at Chanel, started designing, he arrived in 1983. And then the second half of the 80s and the first half of the 90s that was the golden decade of Chanel fashion. In that golden decade of Chanel fashion, from 1985 to 1995, Coco was released. We're talking the most beautiful times of Chanel. You know, the costume jewelry looked Byzantine Baroque. Their Maltese crosses, the gripois glass, the cabochons poured everywhere, the hyper-saturated reds, greens, blues, and yellows. Victoire de Castellane in that decade from 83, I think she'll already write, from 85 to 95, she was designing the costume jewelry for Chanel. I mean, it was a whole, I mean, you cannot compare Chanel costume jewelry of today to Chanel costume jewelry of back then. It was on another planet of vibe, mood, that Byzance Baroque, yellow, heavy golds, the heft, the gravitas. I mean, the clothes were amazing. The Barbie collection, the Chanel Barbie collection that Karl Lagerfeld did, you know, with the infamous looks worn by Claudia Schiffer, that's early 90s. Also very typical for that time, right? That famous golden decade of Chanel, the beautiful motorbike, James Dean vibes of the fall-winter 1992 collection with the chain sunglasses that still to this day are the most famous Chanel sunglasses ever made. That was fall-winter 1992, Pret-a-Porter. The scuba diving outfits with sequins, you know, they are actual Pret-a-Porter jackets that are inspired by scuba diving for spring-summer. Linda Evangelista wearing it. All of the leathers, the supple lambskin outfits, the pants, the jackets, the tweeds, the simple cut items with the camellias added everywhere, like Karl reinventing the language of Chanel, creating out of the archives pieces that would become timeless in the future. Now we associate Chanel with all these camellias, but Karl created those fluffy camellias, those rounded off camellias, you know, that is kind of his thing that now we associate automatically with Chanel. It's not like Coco. Coco did flowers and she loved camellias, but like her flowers came with her haute couture clothes. Coco only did haute couture. She didn't do pret-a-porter in her lifetime. And the flowers came with the outfit, with the haute couture dress. They were not purchased separately. They were part of the outfit, you know. Bags as well. There wasn't this huge market for bags back in the haute couture era. While Coco Chanel was alive, the bag would be made out of the materials that were used to make your outfit. Then you would have the bag made out of the same fabric as your outfit to go with your outfit. The bag would be worn with that specific outfit that had that specific little flower made for it, also out of the same fabric. So very different concept that Karl came into, deciding, no, you're going to purchase the flower separately if you want, and it's going to have this plump candy-like shape. And in this time when everything became plump and matelassé quilted bag, the 255 with the turn lock, everything was plump, rounded off, like candy, almost lacquered. Everything was so delicious you wanted to bite it. In that era comes out this perfume. And this perfume, it gives an accent to all of that voluptuousness, that rich, decadent Baroque and Byzantine vibe and style, but taken into the late 80s and transported into the future throughout the 90s. Just wonderful. I mean, just seeing those collections again, just, makes your heart flutter, you know. Try to watch a fashion show today. Very rarely does it move you. Well, at least me. But I watched those old school shows from 30, 40 years ago, and I'm still in awe. Everything about them, the energy, the vibration, the mood, just the vibe, how people are behaving. The smaller venues are also important because it's more intimate. That intimacy that is evoked with this perfume, because you wear it for your intimate self, you know. Coco was also created in a time where half of Vogue magazine was advertisement for cigarettes. I recommend you not to smoke, however, of course. But it was very normal back then. You could smoke in an airplane. So perfumes also needed to be strong and powerful, that you can smell them in rooms that are fully smoked up with cigarettes, you know? And so perfumes were more intense back then. And the fact that today we're like smoking nowhere anymore, but you still have a perfume that rich that reminds you of those luscious, voluptuous overconsumption times. Everything was fabulous, over the top. It was never enough. People were flying with a Concorde back and forth all the time. That's the time of Coco, okay? And it still smells like that. you lift the lid, you take a whiff of it and you're back. You're back in the late 80s, the best of times. The power of perfume, it transports you. It is time travel. They say, oh, we've never invented a time travel machine. Yeah, we did. We just didn't call it a time travel machine. Perfumes. Perfumes are time travel machines. Very functional too. And boy, oh boy, does Coco take me back. The dreams, the emotions, the fury, but also the hope, the elegance, the arrogance, the sophistication. Oh man. The innocence as well. Those were more innocent times, no smartphones. Internet was just about to be invented, or was already invented, but nobody was using it except for some government people. Simpler times, and yet so much deeper. They felt more precise, concise. They felt more meaningful, hopeful. Everything was slower. Time would stop. There were more moments of pause, reflection, meditation, observing beauty from a very different angle, having more time in your pocket to do so. There were less collections a year, but the collections that were shown were top-notch. You needed time for a new hit single from some country to make it across the globe. It took months for music to spread, but when it did spread, it would stick forever. Those were the evergreens. Now nothing sticks. You throw everything to the wall, everything just slides off like cheap pasta. Coco sticks. It's an echo of a time where you would savor beauty. You would wait for good things to happen. Patience was key. Not, things weren't released like nowadays. Oh yeah, it's released here, so it's released worldwide immediately. No. It would be released in France, then 5-6 months later, it would be released in the United States, and then, it would be released 5 months after it was released in France, it would be released in Italy. Some perfumes were tested out only in the Chanel boutiques in the beginning, so it would be only released in a few Chanel boutiques just to see how people are reacting to it, what to tweak, how to create the buzz. Everything was word of mouth. There was no, oh, let me tweet about it. Oh, let me Google it. Oh, let me post on Instagram about it. Oh, let me go on Discord. Oh, let me do TikTok video. None of that. You would have to discover beauty. You would have to discover quality. You would have to discover a storyline. You would have to constantly be on the lookout and on the search for actual moments in time and portals to tap into the nerve of the times. And it was a whole constellation of things. The right newspaper, the right people around you, the right restaurant to go to, the right perfume to wear, the right conversational topics, the right books to read. Everything was balanced differently. It was a different clockwork. It was a different mechanism. Batteries were not included back in the day. You had to fine-tune, tweak the system, the mechanism of this clockwork. You had to lube it up, oil it up. And perfumes like Coco were major contributors to an entire lifestyle, to an entire time frame representing a mood, an era. And it is mind-boggling, and it blows my mind how much is encapsulated in just a perfume. Like just by sniffing this, it triggers all of my synopsis or synopsi to go those places, to trigger memories, to open doors, to tell stories, narration. They're like flying by like at the speed of light. The neutrons. Man, what magic. And the beauty of all of this is even if you were born after the 80s and after the 90s, by sniffing this, you can go there. You might not understand all of the stories the perfume is telling you, right? It's a smell that you're trying to connect to memories that you have lived. But if you know how to listen, if you fine-tune your sense of listening to fragrances, they will start telling you stories from even before you were born. They're all inside of you, rooted deep down inside. Your parents passed them on to you. The great-grandparents pass it on to them and to you. It's on a molecular level. There's depth there. We are all connected not just through the words that we speak and the physical actions that we show or give to others or transmit to others, but we are also connected through something that is spiritual. It is on a much higher level. It is more intense. It is something that is mostly unexplainable in words because words are limiting. The Tower of Babel, baby, of Babylon, collapsed for a reason. We are cursed in many ways with language, but if we forget about language for a second and we just feel things, like a perfume, it will tell you stories. It won't use language to tell you those stories. It won't use words to tell you those stories. It will simply push the right buttons inside of you spiritually, emotionally. It will trigger emotions. It will trigger wordless memories from a time long gone that you didn't even know ever existed or ever happened. That's Coco for you. A masterpiece. Still to this day, the EDT, highly recommend. Get it before they discontinue it. Love you loads, guys. I hope you enjoyed this re-review of Coco. You know, let's revisit these gorgeous masterpieces from time to time. Every couple of years or so, you know, when new batches come out, new, you know, batch numbers, potential reformulations, it's always good to revisit these old friends and see what else they got to say, what new stories they have to share. They're endless stories. It's all up to you if you're ready or not to listen and take them in. Or also share your stories with them. And then have those stories be shared with somebody else. It's an endless loop. Look, there are no limits to this. You are the limit. If you decide not to be the limit, then it's limitless. It's all up to you. Thumb up this video. Let me know your thoughts about this perfume if you like it as much as I do. And let me know if you got yourself a bottle or 2 or 3. And until next time, subscribe, thumb up the video, and never give up on fragrant love. Bye.